EFF leader Julius Malema has arrived at former President Jacob Zuma's residence at Nkandla, north of KwaZulu-Natal, where the two will hold a meeting this afternoon and are presently doing so. There are reports that Malema and Zuma will make an important announcement after the meeting. Some have speculated that Malema will try to persuade Zuma to rethink his decision to ignore the Constitutional Court ruling, or that is the hope at least. The court did order Zuma to appear before the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. The meeting comes after Malema tweeted to request Zuma for the meeting. And as you can see, there he is. They're landing off that plane then as well, just north of KwaZulu-Natal, as we said. Ekurhuleni Mayor Mzwandile Masina, a strong supporter of Zuma, is also expected to attend this meeting. Of course, we are set to give you a whole lot more from this, so let's give you the coverage then. My colleague Samkele Maseko is at Nkandla. Let's cross to him now for more. So good afternoon to you, Samkele. The ruling by the Constitutional Court still weighing heavy, not just on Jacob Zuma, but certainly the ANC as well. Ace Magashule having weighed in not so long ago. Is it really perhaps the expectation that Julius Malema will be able to bring Zuma forward for the Commission of Inquiry?
What we do know, Arabile, is that the issue of the Constitutional Court judgment on former President Jacob Zuma, him being forced to go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, him being forced to answer all questions posed to him, that issue is at the top of the agenda of this meeting that Julius Malema has with the former President Jacob Zuma. In Julius Malema's corner is Senior Counsel Advocate Dalimpofu, who is one of the lawyers who usually goes to the Constitutional Court to represent many clients. He is here. They are here to try and to persuade former President Jacob Zuma to abide by the Constitutional Court judgment and to go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry to provide answers that he is asked by the Commission on allegations of state capture and inquiry. So that issue of the agenda is pretty much clear, that the issue of that particular judgment, and former President Jacob Zuma saying that he will not be going to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry to answer any questions. That issue is at the top of the agenda for this meeting that is currently taking place here now in Nkandla at former President Jacob Zuma's homestead here.
Yeah, there seemingly has been in the past, particularly when Julius Malema was indeed even ANC youth leader and member, of course, of the African National Congress, there was seemingly a father-son relationship. Is that what this is? Is this what is playing out now in the political field? That sort of father-son relationship that clearly hasn't ended, but now coming to a point where perhaps politically they can begin to make some sort of headway in whichever direction this seems to go.
There is a saying that where bridges have once crossed, they will cross once again. And essentially what the convergence now of former President Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema is essentially saying that there are no permanent friends, permanent enemies. They are just permanent interests in politics. That is what it essentially boils down here to today in this meeting of Julius Malema and President Jacob Zuma. This meeting was essentially, Arabile, meant to be a secret meeting, but Julius Malema went out to the fore and put it to the public domain. That fixer, Mzwandile Masina, is also part of this particular meeting. He also came out of that particular chopper with Advocate Dalimpofu, Julius Malema, Vuyani Pambo, the spokesperson of the economic freedom fighters, and they just went in and drove in to meet former President Jacob Zuma and have that all-important meeting on the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Speaking to one of those gentlemen who went to this meeting, they said that this meeting is very important because it has to have President Jacob Zuma abiding by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, because that's very important for this country, as that particular document of the Constitution is what binds all South Africans together, and that what enforces the rule of law in this country. And they are saying that it's particularly important that it is them, as the younger generation, who go to former President Jacob Zuma and stress the importance of abiding by this Constitution, and it will be better coming from them. Hence they came with the legal mind of Senior Counsel Dalimpofu, who's also had a very close relationship with former President Jacob Zuma in the past. So all the gentlemen who've gone to this meeting, Julius Malema, Dalimpofu, and Mzwandile Masina, all have had a relationship with former President Jacob Zuma. So they feel that it's important that they had to come and speak to the former president on this particular issue, particularly when you look at the comments of ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule, where he says that the constitution of the country must just wait. And you've got three other leaders here who've got a totally opposite view of what the Secretary General of the African National Congress said, who is in the faction of, or perceived fraction of, former President Jacob Zuma in the African National Congress.
Yeah. Oh man, it gets so interesting. At the same time, just as a slight sideshow almost, Julius Malema goes and slams the outgoing Wits Vice Chancellor there, Adam Habib, for comparing this tea with Jacob Zuma to a meeting between Adolf Hitler and the one that was hosted with Joseph Stalin. One would say that at that time, that was a critical meeting for those parties, of course, particularly out in the likes of Germany as well. This is not perhaps as severe, but it does tell you that South Africa's constitution may actually be right at the forefront of this conversation. Is this a crossroads perhaps for the constitution in the country, do you think, Samkele?
Arabile, what I've learned over the years about politics is that you must take your personal feelings out of politics. No matter how you may perceive former President Jacob Zuma, love him or hate him, Julius Malema, love him or hate him, but the issue of the day is the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa needs to be protected, even by those who we may perceive as the most corrupt, as the most nefarious. So whether what their intentions are, what the political end game is, but at the end of the day, that is all their issue. It will come back to affect us because politics at the end of the day affects you and I. It plays a role in the price of bread. The future of this country, if there's political instability, as was said by ratings agencies, as you would come to know them as a business and economics broadcaster, you would know that if there's political instability in the country, investors say they run away. If there's political stability, they flock in and they invest, they take out their checkbooks and their bank balances. So the future of this country and the stability of the political arena is also very important for the economic prospects of this country if our economy is to grow at the rate that we want it to grow. We've seen many people saying that the ANC factions are basically holding this country hostage. So what former President Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema meeting here today is not taboo. They've always met in a way. They've always had discussions in a way. It's just only being formalized today in a meeting. If you've noticed and tracked politics of the day throughout, particularly in the past 2 years, you could have seen that the politics of Julius Malema and of former President Jacob Zuma are converging at some point. You look at Julius Malema's comments when he appeared at the Randburg Magistrates Court with Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and the comments and the harsh words he had for the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, and in particular its chairperson, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. And you look at the words of former President Jacob Zuma and his supporters, MKMVA. You look at the Jacob Zuma Foundation. You look at the presentation of Senior Counsel Advocate Tebeka Ngcukaitobi, representing the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, and saying that there is a continued attack by those who support former President Jacob Zuma. So it tells you that these two particular individuals at some point were going to meet because their politics are essentially converging. You look at how Julius Malema perceives the government of the day of being too close to what is perceived as white monopoly capital, those who control the high echelons of the South African economy. It tells you that's the view of the former ANC president as well, Jacob Zuma, when he was still president of the ANC, when he lost at the 2017 Nasrec Conference of the African National Congress, when he supported Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. So it tells you that the politics of these individuals, Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema, are converging. But this meeting, the first point on the agenda is the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa that is not only meant to be perceived by those who are morally upright in society, but those who are also perceived as corrupt, as nefarious, and who have allegedly had their hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah. Samkele, look, you certainly speak true words there, my brother. It certainly is true. The instance of politics and how you keep your emotions out of it certainly is very interesting. And in a time like this, I guess the best thing we can do is wait and see. Thank you so much for keeping abreast of this one for us, brother. We will catch up with you, of course, as things progress, and hopefully an announcement by the two leaders then, Jacob Zuma as well as Julius Malema, the leader then of the EFF, Samkele Maseko. Keeping that story abreast of that story for us then in Nkandla, north of KwaZulu-Natal, then that tea meeting between the two leaders still continuing. We'll